This is Jason Gerlin from National Sports Broadcasting Live from UCLA. It's last night of sports broadcasting camp. So we decided to do a show, and I don't know how good this is gonna be, but let's just do
It's
it.
going to be great. This is exciting.
Yeah,
Last
yes.
night. Let's hear a little pep in your voice.
Okay, my
Cool, let's do it.
my
Here we
voice is
go.
pretty much destroyed. So, pitching makes a team in baseball. So, why not talk about the best 1-2 punches in baseball? So we're going through all 30 teams at a good tempo. Well, let's start with the NL West, shall we? Dodgers, Greinke, Kershaw. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch. What do you guys think?
I think that's definitely up there, one of the best in the league. Obviously, we know Kershaw is consistent. He's always had his stuff together. But it's up to Greinke to make the second half of that 1-2 punch great.
Also, Ryu is a great pitcher. He has shown himself during the season.
You think so? Do you think Greinke replaces Ryu on any 1-2 punch situation? Do you really think that?
I think Ryu's a pretty good pitcher myself, but I think he still has a lot of. He still needs to prove himself over multiple seasons. But yeah, I mean, he surprised me. I didn't think he was gonna have as good of a season as he actually did. So he's surprised me quite a bit actually.
Ryu has gone to 11-3 just tonight after the Dodgers beat the Cardinals 5-1. So the Dodgers having one of the better pitching staffs in the major leagues. You move down to their north rivals, the San Francisco Giants. You have Bumgarner and Kane. Want to tell us something about that, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, the Giants obviously have had a bad year, just terrible year, actually, as a matter of fact. But Bumgarner's been one of their shining lights this year. He's been really consistent for most of the season, had a really nice start against the Rays last week, even though the Giants did lose. Bumgarner's been, very consistent. He's been that consistent guy. Matt Cain has lost it a little bit. He's given up way more fly balls than he did, or at least fly balls that have done damage in the past. And he's a guy that's got to work on getting more ground balls and develop some pitches there. Tim Lincecum obviously has been inconsistent as he has been the last couple of years, but did throw a no-hitter. Then you've got Vogelsong, who's been hurt most of the year, and then their fifth starter, Zito, has just been absolute garbage the past 10, 11 starts. He's just been atrocious. That's really been the MO of his whole career with the Giants. So, it's been a bad year for the Giants, but Bumgarner's been the shining light in such a bad year.
I think when Bumgarner and Matt Cain are both healthy, I think the Giants are pretty. They're a pretty dangerous team to be looking out for.
In the Giants, I looked at some advanced statistics here. The Giants are actually third in the league in K per 9, which means they strike out third most batters per 9 innings at 8.1. So the Giants are always one of the best strikeout teams in the league. So to be there at third is a good sign that at least they're getting pitches by guys when they need to get big strikeouts.
So you go down. So yeah, of course. The Giants are struggling a little bit this year. You go down to the Padres, who are more of a pitching team, and you get Jason Marcus and what is the other guy? Eric Stoltz. These two pitchers. What do you think?
Well, these two pitchers definitely are not atop of the top of the list of the best 1-2 punches in the league. Jason Marquis, a veteran in this league, he has definitely made his way around. Last with the Minnesota Twins, now caught on with the San Diego Padres. He's having a decent year. Classic Jason Marquis year. Not phenomenal, not horrible, but he is able to get through the lineup, keep you in games, and give you a chance to score some runs. And then you have Eric Stoltz. Eric Stoltz, a Los Angeles Dodger, and he is now a San Diego Padre. Crafty lefty, uses a lot of junk. He's had a decent year for the Padres, like Marquis. Not phenomenal, not great, but the Padres do need better pitching. In my opinion, they don't have the offense to produce the way they would like to, and Jason Marquis and Eric Stoltz really don't get it done in that category.
There's a lot of controversy with these 1-2 punches, because you could argue the fact Edwinson Volquez would make it in, but I don't think Edwinson Volquez has proven anything since his days with Cincinnati to be able to be considered in that group. So you move down to the last team of the division, the Rockies. You get Jolcy Johnson.
Yeah, Chassin.
And you have Jorge De La Rosa. I mean, these two pitchers are the two bright spots in an otherwise forgettable season for the Rockies.
Yeah, I think
So-
these guys are pretty good. Are a good 1-2 punch. They're not a top 1-2 punch, but they're pretty decent themselves. I like De La Rosa. He's actually had a pretty good year. Surprisingly, I didn't think he was going to have as good of a year as he did. And I like Julius Shushtein. I mean, to pitch this well in that ballpark, have a sub 3.5 ERA is quite impressive. So does De La Rosa. So those two guys have actually done quite a good job with 20 plus starts on the year. So yeah, the Rockies, although those two guys have been good, their back three have just not been pulling the weight at all.
Of course. We move to the Central Division, of course. St. Louis have just lost a 4-game set to the Dodgers, and it kind of shows that they're pitching. Adam Wainwright, obviously the ace of the staff, but Jacob, who's the second guy in this rotation?
Well, this is a good debate, especially for St. Louis Cardinal fans. Obviously, you do have Adam Wainwright on the top. He's been on the top of the Cardinals pitching staff for years now. But then you have two youngsters on the Cardinals, Lance Lynn and Shelby Miller. And it's really up to the debater who they would like to put as the second starter. I mean, when you have two guys competing who could possibly be your second starter, that's definitely an advantage. It shows the depth of the St. Louis Cardinals pitching staff. But I do have to go with Lance Lynn, a little more experienced, especially in the Cardinals rotation, and he's really done a great job this year.
Yeah, just pulling out some advanced statistics. The Cardinals get 48.5% of ground balls hit, so they're third in the league in that, which means they're going to get a lot of chances at double plays. They're also the best in the league at allowing the least home runs at 8.8% only, which is way ahead of the Miami Marlins, who are in second. And then last, the Cardinals are fourth in the league in WHIP at 1.2. So they're not putting a lot of guys on. They're not allowing a lot of home runs, and they're getting a lot of ground balls. So this is why I think the Cardinals are one of the top teams in the league at pitching as a team.
That's a good point to make. Lance Lynn definitely at Wainwright make a great combination. Those who are worried about Shelby Miller, he has stated that despite the fact he was taken out of Wednesday's game with an elbow contusion, he will make his next start. That's what he believes, at least. So we go to the division leader. We go to the Pittsburgh Pirates, who
This is going to be an interesting one.
it's Francisco Liriano leading the team, but do you go with Jeff Locke or AJ Burnett, or even maybe Randy Rodriguez in this position?
Brandon, what do you think?
Well, for me, I would go Jeff Locke. I mean, I look at that 2.47 ERA. I also look at his 1.26 WHIP. That's a pretty solid whip right there. Now, A.J. Burnett's is a little bit better at 1.2, but I just see Jeff Locke as just not an established two, but I think is the most potential to be the two. I like A.J. Burnett, but I'm always worried about when he's going to break down and when he's going to have a bad start. But again, the Pirates, very, very good staff. They get the most ground balls in the league at 52.6% of the time they're going to get a ground ball, which means you're going to have more opportunities for double plays, and you're going to keep the ball on the ground and in the infield. And they're the fifth best team in keeping the balls in the ballpark. They do not allow a lot of home runs. They only allow home runs 9.8% of the time. So 1 out of 10, that's a pretty good number to only give up home runs. So I think the Pirates are one of the top staffs, if not the top staff in the league.
I do have to agree with you, Brandon. We've seen A.J. Burnett in past years. We've seen him in Florida with the Yankees. He's never really established himself as a top of
For a full season.
rotation pitcher. He's definitely a great 3. Good pickup by the Pirates last year, and he has proved himself this year. But youngster Jeff Locke, a.k.a. Loki, is having a great season. If you do look, though, Locke and Burnett's statistics are
Pretty
ratherly similarly. Yeah. Both are close to a 2.4 ERA, and both are close to 150 strikeouts and about 130 innings pitched. But if I had to go Game 2 of the playoffs, I would definitely give the ball to Locke.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really interesting. Liriano's whip is just really low, 1.15. That's an incredibly good whip. The league average is a 1.4. So for him especially to have a 1.15 whip means that he's throwing a lot of strikes, keeping it away from hitters, and not allowing a lot of guys on base. Like
if you put Liriano with Ben Revere, these guys the Twins are missing right now.
You know, the Twins must be kicking themselves because they were wondering where was this Francisco Liriano even 2 to 3 years ago, if not even last year. Where was this guy? And he's just completely turned it around with a new change of scenery.
So what you're saying is you don't prefer a strikeout pitcher. You have to have Jeff Locke.
I prefer a guy with more control, honestly. I want guys that get me ground balls instead of fly balls. I love strikeout pitchers, but usually with strikeout pitchers, they're going to throw a lot more pitches, which is Gio Gonzalez. That's the guy that is the epitome of that. The guy can throw and strike out so many people, but he's only throwing 5 or 6 innings a start, which is not a great quality in him. So I like guys like Jeff Locke and Liriano who just throw strikes, make them put it in play, and get outs quicker.
And I think that's what makes the Pirates bullpen the way it is, too. They're not heavily used.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's helping them keep in first. Next team will be the Chicago Cubs, of course, struggling again. They haven't made the playoffs since 2008. So the Cubs, according to our source in Chicago, it's Jeff
Samardzija.
Tough
name to pronounce. Yes, that's my boy.
Notre Dame tight end.
Notre Dame tight end.
And Travis Wood. What do you have to say?
Well, Jeff Samardzija has really been given a big role in the Cubs pitching rotation this season. This is the first year that they've thrown him out there as the ace of the staff. And he's definitely performed. I don't know if you can say he's performed ace-worthy. Close to a 4.2 ERA. Not really what the Cubs want in him. He has thrown a good amount of innings, which they need with that bullpen. And then you have Travis Wood, who I really like, especially for the future. This is his first year as a full-time starter. He has done a really good job. 3.04 ERA. That's what you need as a second starter to just keep the team in the game. And he did make the All-Star game this year. That was definitely a big accomplishment for Wood.
Absolutely. The one guy I'm disappointed with on the staff is Edwin Jackson. I had really high hopes for him when he came over last year via free agency. I thought Edwin Jackson was going to be one of their answers. He really hasn't been, but I expect bigger and better things from him. This guy's too good to not be a good pitcher. I mean, this guy has a 4.96 ERA. That's incredibly too high for him. He's going to be a better pitcher in the future. Cubs fans should not give up on this kid because he's young. He has the ability to throw a lot of really good pitches. And he threw a no-hitter, so this, even though he did walk like 6 or 7 guys in that start, but it was crazy. But the guy can really pitch, and I think that he's going to do better in the future. So Cubs fans, don't give up on Edwin Jackson.
Yeah, this looks good for the future. The Cubs, at least, aren't in the bottom of the hole. The Reds, honestly, to me, they're the next team. I think that the Reds are the next team that have to tank and try to get new pitchers and new hitting. But right now they're doing decently with Matt Lato somehow becoming the star of that team. So we have on our sheet we have Matt Latos and Mike Leake. Is there any dispute about that?
No, I definitely agree with that. The Reds definitely got the better half of the Matt Latos, Edison, Volquez deal. Latos has definitely been a proven starter. I don't know how the Reds feel, though, about that 3.21 ERA. It is not a horrible ERA, but it's definitely not ace-worthy, which Latos is supposed to be. Again, which most of these 1-2s have. He has thrown a good amount of innings, good strikeout to walk ratio, and hasn't allowed too many home runs, which is good for Latos. If he can get that ERA down, he is definitely one of the top pitchers in the game. I feel he could be. And then you have Mike Leake at 2. I love Mike Leake. He is also one of the best hitting pitchers in the game, which is a great quality. I love that, especially as a big National League fan. Mike Leake, really good ERA, 2.94. Almost the same amount of innings pitched as Latos has. And Homer Bailey, possibly a 3. Bronson Arroyo, a 4 for the Reds. Both having good years as well, but I definitely feel that Latos and Leake stand out as the 1-2. But a very good pitching rotation that the Reds have for themselves here.
Yeah, and they're second in the MLB in WHIP at 1.19, just .01 behind the Tigers. So that means that they're not allowing guys on base again, keeping their these guys off base, making it hard for other teams to score runs, which I like about the Reds. But yeah, I do see that they have a lot of potential to be really good in the future. Just got to make sure that they keep doing the same things that they are doing right now. I think Latos has had a good year. It's hard to pitch in that ballpark, especially Great American, and I think they're doing a pretty good job of it.
They definitely are. I'm gonna take the Milwaukee Brewers, if you guys don't mind. Milwaukee, I had the pleasure of watching one of
Do the
the.
Milwaukee Brewers even have a 1-2?
Oh, of course.
I do. I actually think
Giovanni Gallardo,
Gallardo,
and Willie Peralta.
I disagree with Willie Peralta just in this facet. I'm just going to chime in real quick here,
Okay,
Jason.
go ahead.
I really like Kyle Loesch. This dude has been a beast over his
And I'm just going to interrupt you a second. If you remember how long Kyle Loesch was in free agency, it was about halfway through spring training until the Brewers picked him up.
You check Kyle Loesch's recent stats here. I mean, this guy has been a beast. Now, his numbers don't look like it over the whole season, but this guy has been a monster in his few starts. I mean, this guy has been a very, very solid pitcher. He's not given up a ton of runs. His only bad start was at Arizona, but who doesn't struggle at Arizona, especially being on the road? I like Kyle Loesch a lot, and I like Giovanni Gallardo as well.
Oh, I see where you're coming from. I wasn't able to look at the stats because the last time I was aware of we have a caller.
This is Cameron Sadeghi.
What do you?
Cameron, we're talking. What's your question?
I'm making that mistake. I'm not that crazy NBA talk show host who rambles on about nothing.
What is your question, Cameron?
No, I'm Drake from Bel Air.
Drake from Bel Air. What is your question? Sorry.
My question is to you.
To me personally? Is it to me personally?
A playoff system, or do you think that the do you think the NCAA committee is the best committee in sports?
Okay, we will get you back for this call on your show, Cameron. We'll talk to you later. Someone go call him about the Bassmaster Classic, please.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
Sorry.
Jason was rudely interrupted.
Kyle Loesch, I didn't notice his stats before. The only thing I want to say about Willie Peralta is he pitched against a great Braves team when I was in Milwaukee, and when I was feeling this is probably the worst baseball game for me. I was feeling like crap, but Willie Peralta put out a great effort, a 2-hit ball. He didn't give up a hit till like the 5th inning. That's the only reason why I would say Willie Peralta. But now looking at his games, he hasn't been very solid, but he puts enough effort into all of his games. But I think it's fair enough to say that we'll place Kyle Loesch, plays Willie Peralta with Kyle Loesch. Giovanni and Loesch, I don't really know how that would work out in a playoff system, but it's good enough. So anyways, the Braves, of course, hottest, probably best team in the league right now. But their pitching staff, if you look at the hard stats of it, they don't really have the numbers you think they would have. So Mike Minor and who do you think the second guy in that rotation?
Obviously, Mike Minor's a big factor in the Braves rotation. Awesome ERA, 2.76. I would love to throw Tim Hudson out there in the second, but I'm not going to even factor him in there considering he's on the 60-day DL and out for the season after breaking his ankle in a game versus the Mets. I'm going to have to go with Julio Teheran. Julio Teheran has really developed himself as a dominant starter in the league this year. The Braves definitely didn't expect this much for him going into the season. They didn't expect him to carry this much load. But with the ERA just a bit under 3, he has really been great for the Braves this season. He's kept healthy. He's had a good amount of innings, a good amount of hits. He's really limited the runs and the home runs. And he does have a little bit of a high walk ratio, but he's starting to learn to keep that under control. And he averages a decent amount of Ks, about 6 Ks per start. And I really think he's going to help the Braves out in that playoffs. Not that they really need much pitching help with that offense, but they do have the pitching to complement it.
Yeah, I would agree. Julio Teheran's been a really nice revelation for the Braves. He's had a really strong season. Didn't expect this much, I think, either from him, but I have him on my fantasy team, so it always helps. Julio Teheran has been a guy that I've really liked over these past few months. This guy really can pitch. He's got a great fastball, great breaking ball, just a lot of great pitches that he can throw. When he's on, he's really nearly unhittable. He's got great stuff. He reminds me of Tim Lincecum when Tim Lincecum broke in the league, how dominant he can be when he's on. He is a little inconsistent at points like a Tim Lincecum was, but this guy can really pitch. I could see future Cy Youngs in this kid's future.
Whatever the Braves are doing they're doing it right because they are one of the hottest teams in base right now. Now, here comes Fuse's favorite subject, the New York Mets.
Heck yeah, best pitchers in baseball, baby.
For the Mets, I have Matt Harvey and Dylan Gee. Is there any dispute about that?
Obviously not Matt Harvey, most dominant pitcher in baseball right now. You can say Clayton Kershaw is the best pitcher in baseball. I wouldn't dispute that. I would say Harvey's a close second, but Harvey is the most dominant pitcher in baseball. Harvey went out last night against the Rockies and threw a complete game shutout. 4 hits. The Rockies didn't even touch this kid. 2.09 ERA, which even shouldn't be that high. He allowed a horrible 3-run home run versus Gerardo Parra about a week ago versus the Diamondbacks that skyrocketed his ERA. That absolutely killed me. Right now, as the second starter, I'm going to have to dispute that a little bit. Not looking at the stats, the Mets' second starter is probably young Dylan Gee. This is Dylan Gee's 3rd year in the majors, and he's just coming off the 60-day DL from injury. He will be making his first start back in the majors Sunday versus the Diamondbacks. But if we're looking at the starting rotation from outside, he's definitely the second starter. I mean, Dylan Gee, Jeremy Hefner have been very consistent this year. I don't think you can throw Zach Wheeler into play yet. He's only thrown so many starts so far, and yet he's been good. Somewhat of a higher ERA and a high walk ratio, but he is 4-2. But definitely look for Harvey and Wheeler as the 1-2 in the future to come.
Yeah, I mean, I love Matt Harvey. He's a really, really good pitcher, as we all know. He started the All-Star game this year clearly and has been dominant. But I don't see a number 2 on this team. I don't like Dylan Gee. Never really been a fan of him. Just don't like that. Just don't really like this Mets pitching staff as of now. Now, obviously, they're going to get better with Zach Wheeler coming up through their system. Obviously, he's going to be a pretty good pitcher, in my opinion. But I mean, you look at Dylan Gee, you look at Jeremy Hefner. I don't really see a really legitimate 2, and Jonathan Neese is not very good either. So. For the Mets, they gotta have. If Wheeler does not prove that he's a number 2, the Mets are going to be in trouble because Harvey cannot carry the whole team clearly because the Mets have no offense. So I think Harvey can carry this team, I should say, but the offense needs to pick up and they need to establish a number 2 starter, or else this franchise is going to be in the basement of that NL East for many years if they don't get that established too.
I hate to agree with you on that, but I do.
Mm-hmm.
The Miami Marlins, arguably one of the worst teams in baseball. They have 2 guys that I think it's crazy to say, but I think these 2 guys are really developing pretty well. These 2 guys are Jose Fernandez and Jacob Turner.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are really doing something. I mean, on this horrible Marlins team, they both are doing very well for themselves. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts about this.
I like Jose Fernandez a lot. I didn't really know about him much until probably about May. But this kid can really play. I mean, this guy's putting up huge numbers for the Marlins. I really look at that 1.04 whip, and I think that's pretty incredible. I mean, again, the league average is a 1.4. This guy is not allowing guys to get on base. He's got a very strong K-to-walk ratio, nearly 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's really, really incredible. And I like Jacob Turner as well. The guy, though, I want to talk about is Steve Cishek. He's a tough last name to pronounce, but this guy's the closer on this team. I know we're talking starters, but this guy is a legit closer. This dude is going to be a beast. He throws that low 3/4 release, almost submarine. Watch out for that guy. If you want a saves guy, Steve Cishek is the guy to watch out for in the future. This guy could be one of the dominant closers in the MLB one day.
Yeah, I definitely like Jose Fernandez. Definitely a Rookie of the Year candidate this year. On a Marlins team that actually has the 10th best ERA in the league, the problem with this team is that they just cannot hit.
Runs,
These pitchers really have a tough time getting wins. But Jose Fernandez, only Marlin to make the All-Star game this year. I really like him in the future. I'm actually kind of scared that the Mets are going to have to face him for years to come. And Jacob Turner, just another young arm that the Marlins are developing. he'll definitely be in the rotation for years to come. Fernandez and Turner could be a dominant 1-2. Definitely in the next 3 to 4 years. I do like those two.
And the Marlins, just to add one more quick thing, their home run to fly ball ratio is actually second in the league at 9.1%. So,
Sorry.
yeah, no problem. I'll say it one more time. Their home run to fly ball ratio percentage is 9.1%. That's second best in the MLB. So these guys are not giving up home runs, which is key for a young staff like the Marlins.
That's pretty good for them. One thing I want to just point out about the Marlins is that if their pitching wasn't as good as it is right now, they could possibly be on pace to lose about 130 games because they are just.
I agree with that.
They have
a lot of great.
They have the
young
worst
arms.
offense in baseball right now. They cannot hit. I think if these two weren't on, if these guys had the pitching of the Astros, they would be potentially the worst team to ever play professional baseball ever because they cannot hit. Their hitting will never.
Yeah, besides Giancarlo Stanton and I guess Logan Morrison, you could throw him in there.
And Marcell Ozuna, Marcell Ozuna's a pretty good hitter. I do like.
I mean, right now though, it is kind of like the Houston Astros. These guys, even possible potential to be good in the majors in the future, shouldn't be where they are right now.
Yep.
They need a little more development.
We'll get to the Houston Astros soon enough, but first, Philadelphia. If you told me. Let's see. If you told me 4 years ago that Philadelphia, or even 5 years ago that Philadelphia was not going to be a contender, I would have called you crazy. I thought their pitching staff was set up perfectly. But when Kyle Kendricks is your second best hitter, or your best pitcher, you know you're in trouble. Cliff Lee, he's playing baseball, to say the least. Cliff Lee is showing up the games. He's not fighting people in the locker room. He's just going out there and pitching. He's not drinking heavily. He's not an abusive father. Cliff Lee's just playing baseball like he always should. Cliff Lee's not going to win another World Series unless he.
I hate Cliff Lee.
Unless he becomes a ring rider, but we'll see what happens there. So let's talk about the obvious disappointment. Cole Hamels just went out there and decided this year that he's not going to show up to games.
Just interject real quick. I'm gonna tell you, I've never liked Cole Hamels. Never have I been a fan of him, even back in 2010 when the Giants faced him. I don't think this guy is really that good. I think he's very overrated. I think you Dodgers fans should be very happy that you guys did not throw all the money at him that he was gonna possibly get and potentially get a couple off seasons ago that the Phillies re-signed him. Cole Hamels is very overrated. Kyle Kendrick is having an okay season, not
for a
fantastic.
pitching staff that's great on paper.
Yeah. I mean, I love Cliff Lee. I think he's a fantastic pitcher. I would kill to have him on my team.
I just want to.
The Giants could use him if he wasn't being paid so much.
I mean, last year Cliff Lee had no run support, possibly one of the best pitchers in the game last season.
He won how many? 2 games last year?
Yeah.
I don't even know how many games he won last year.
It was like that. I know for a while, the first couple months, he couldn't even buy a win.
Right.
And now he can't even hold his own on the mound, and it's pretty sad.
What the heck? I just want to say this real quick. What the heck happened to Roy Halladay? One of the best pitchers in baseball just turned into.
I actually heard that Halladay is on the way back from injury. Obviously, we know he's been out most of the year with injury. I actually heard that he's been throwing better than ever. Or I wouldn't say better than ever because he has been one of the best pitchers in the game, but better than he's been in the past couple years.
But for me, I think his age has just caught up to him. I think he's just gotten logged way too many innings. Back in his days in Toronto when he dominated there, I think the wear and tear on his arm is starting to show. And as big as he is at 6'6", 225 pounds, an arm can only take so much. And I think he's just on the tail end of his career.
I mean, he did have arm injuries also when he was young in Toronto, so it could be coming back to haunt him now.
Well, Roy Halladay, just real quick, anyways, Roy Halladay, he's 36 or whatever. He's not doing so well. So we'll move on. Who's the last team? Who are we missing in this division?
Washington
Nationals.
Biggest disappointment in baseball, in my opinion. I mean, we have the Los Angeles Angels. But I do
We'll
say
get to
the
the-
Washington Nationals are the biggest disappointment. They went to this World Series. They went into the season World Series with bust, and right now the Mets, they are a game in front of the Mets.
Yeah,
Oh.
let me say one quick thing just before we jump into the pitchers. I don't even know how Mike Rizzo has a job right now. If you're in the Nationals front office, this dude needs to be fired. You promoted this dude to president of director of operations, whatever the hell title he got. This dude is a absolute schlemiel. This dude is a schlub. He is a idiot. He's a so many words come to mind I can't even cut them across the airwaves right now. This guy needs to be fired. He needs to go. This guy is one of the worst GMs I've ever seen. Maybe he's not as bad as Jerry DiPoto of the Angels, and you know it's true up there, the Angels fan. But this guy is an absolute joke.
I mean,
And
look at this pitching staff, though. Strasburg,
Yeah,
Herron,
exactly.
Gio Gonzalez, Jordan Zimmerman, they should be dominating
And yet,
teams with that.
he couldn't go out in the offseason and get guys that can actually use a bat and hit a ball out of the infield. Literally. I mean, Bryce Harper's their only offense. Denard Span has been a complete bust. Ryan Zimmerman's old and looks old at third base.
Dan Herron has a 5.14 ERA. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. Dan Herron can't. I mean, this team all
Gio
over
Gonzalez,
the field.
20 wins last year.
Yeah, this
3
team-
ERA
yeah,
now.
I mean, this team all over the field is an absolute disaster. I mean, it's awful. It's hard to watch this team play. It really is.
Zimmerman is the best ace of the staff,
Mhm.
undoubtedly. Gio Gonzalez right behind. That's who I have on paper. But Strasburg has just, like Holiday, he's just disappeared. People should be happy that no one's paying attention to how bad he's doing, because he's 5-9 for a pitcher is not that bad. But for Steven Strasburg, a guy who had so much hype behind him, when he's doing that bad, it's very bad.
Watch out, Steven Strasburg,
He's been-
because
he-
there's a new
yeah.
ace in town,
Yeah,
Matt Harvey.
He's been really unlucky this year, definitely, Steven Strasburg. And you know what? I think the Nationals have invoked themselves a new curse. Which is now that since they did not keep Strasburg on the roster last year for the playoffs, they're probably not going to win a World Series for the next 100 years. That's all I'm going to tell you right now. Mike Rizzo's going to be a part of that. So, Mike Rizzo, if you're listening, you suck, dude. You're terrible.
Okay, that finishes up the National League. We'll move over to the American League West right now. First team I have on the block, the chopping block, is the Los Angeles Angels, who I'm just going to start off by saying I've been to more Angel games than Dodger games this season. I've seen CJ pitch. I've seen Jared pitch. I've seen Blanton pitch. I've seen Hanson pitch. I've seen enough Angels baseball for my fair share. I can say this right now: C.J. Wilson and Jared Weaver are the obvious aces of that staff, and they've been trying their best to hold this team together. But when you have Joe Blanton in the rotation, it makes it harder to be respectable. So what do you guys think about the Angels?
Well, yeah, I mean, Joe Blanton, I've never liked Joe Blanton either. Former Dodger, former Athletic. This guy is an absolute schlemiel, just like everyone else on the Angels. I mean, look at C.J. Wilson's had a pretty decent season considering how bad they've been. Obviously, Jared Weaver's been hurt a lot of the year, has logged less than 100 innings. Jerome Williams, a former first overall pick of the San Francisco Giants, a journeyman in the league now, has basically forgotten how to pitch in his last, the last 7 or 8 starts. This dude can't throw. Their bullpen is just atrocious. Mike Scioscia has lost complete control of the team. Their lineup can't hit aside Trout. This team is a mess. I mean, you want to talk about a mess? This is mop-up duty 101. This team needs to be swept up off their feet, and some changes need to be installed immediately.
And instead of my opinion on this one, we are going to go to Angels expert Nick Aguilera, and he is going to give his opinion about the Angels pitcher.
Yeah, it's terrible. I've been a lifelong Angels fan, but our pitching this year is terrible. When your best pitcher has a 3.49 ERA, something's wrong down there. I don't blame Scioscia, as Bayer said, but I do blame Mike Butcher. Mike Butcher, I think he's doing something wrong, especially with that bullpen. When you have a guy who's not even on your team anymore, that's leading for holds, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
At least we sent Joe Blanton down to the bullpen.
You sent him to the bullpen. Okay.
Yeah, we sent him to the bullpen, and Garrett Richards has done decent. Everyone else is just total I mean, Weaver, he's been struggling a little, but he's still getting wins for them.
Mm-hmm.
C.J. Wilson getting consistent starts, but like last innings of his starts and the bullpen are totally blowing it.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say this about the Angels. I've seen enough Angel baseball to say that early in the season, the Dodgers and Angels seem to be going the same road, seem to be losing. But the difference between the Dodgers and Angels is the Dodgers actually had quality pitching behind their first two guys. They had Ryu and Capuano or Fife, whatever you want to call them, but they didn't acquire Nasco until later in the season. And I think that the Angels just sputtered out of control, and they're just a train wreck that's still rolling on. It's impossible to stop now.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, you can we'll move on to the one of the top teams in the division, the Oakland Athletics, with Bartolo Colon and AJ Griffin. I know Bartolo Colon's the best pitcher of this team, but who's the second?
I mean, since being in the Bay Area, I have to deal with all these A's fans and all their crap that they give me about how good they are. Honestly, I don't find this team to be that good. I don't know how they win baseball games with the lineup they have, but I guess clearly it's their pitching staff.
But look at the ERA of their pitching staff. 3.91, AJ Griffin. Tommy Malone has a 4.39, and Jared Parker's just a little over 4. I mean, that's not quality.
I'm not exactly sure how this team is winning baseball
It's Billy
games,
Bean.
to be honest. It might be a little, I mean, Billy
Well,
Bean must have done something right. But their lineup is absolutely garbage. I mean, you look them down this lineup, there's one dude hitting over 280 in this lineup, and it's Josh Donaldson. I mean, I don't know how they're winning games, honestly. I couldn't tell you. I mean, those pitching numbers are pretty solid there.
Those pitching numbers are coming out of nowhere, basically.
Yeah,
they're
They're good. They're very good.
Their hitting is not that impressive. It's basically Dodger numbers, basically.
Yeah, I mean, look at that team batting average. I mean, 242. That is bad. That is pretty bad. That's really bad.
I think AJ Griffin's the clear number 2 starter. I don't know how these guys are. I don't know how you win games with a 4.39.
I would disagree with AJ Griffin. For me, it's Jared Parker.
Okay.
I think Jared Parker just has better stuff. Honestly, I think AJ Griffin utilizes his fastball way too much.
Okay.
From the games that I've seen him in.
That's a good argument. I don't know how the Oakland A's win. Maybe the league is fixed. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, honestly, I don't know how they do either. That's one of the biggest mysteries this year in baseball.
Surprisingly, the Texas Rangers, who are built like the Angels, who have 2 starters who are really good, and then the train stops from there on out, and you have a bunch of random pitchers that just show up out of nowhere, have been doing pretty well for themselves. Yu Darvish has been a solid guy. They didn't have Yu Darvish. The Texas Rangers probably been second to last place, but Yu Darvish is pitching great behind Derek Holland. And that's why I have on paper Yu Darvish and Derek Holland one of the best 1-2 combinations. I think debatable right now. I'll debate this after the Mariners. But yeah, any words about the Rangers?
Well, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. I'll just jump in.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yu Darvish definitely has developed. Definitely took advantage of his time in the majors this season. I think last season was just about getting his feet wet and just developing himself, getting used to professional baseball over in America than in Japan. But he's definitely come into this season ready to go. 2.72 ERA, definitely an American League Cy Young candidate in my opinion. Excuse me.
Yeah, what jumps out to me is Yu Darvish's K per 9. I mean, 11.86. Like, that is astronomical. Like, I can't believe that's how high it is. I mean, for a starter, that's unheard of in modern day baseball. Over 10 even is just incredible. This guy's averaging 12 strikeouts a game, basically with that numbers there. But I really like Derek Holland. I mean, this dude is going to be a legit beast. He already is an elite. I think he's an elite pitcher in this league. For what he's been able to do this year in pitching in such a difficult ballpark there in Arlington with such a bandbox that it is, with the fly balls that carry out there. This guy is legit. I mean, I really like Derek Holland. His ERA is just a shade over 3 at 3.02. His whip is at 1.25, so that's good under league average. So these two guys are going to be the future of the Texas Rangers pitching staff for many years to come. I think Derek Holland is a guy that could be winning Cy Youngs in his career also. Definitely, this guy is legit.
The Texas Rangers are one of those teams where they peaked really, really badly in 2010, 2011. They really showed what they could do, but I'm not sure how good this pitching staff would be in the playoffs for these guys. You move on, and I think one of the bigger surprises of this season, probably one of the biggest surprises on this whole list, will be the Seattle Mariners with Felix Hernandez and Heishi Ikuma.
Yeah, Hisashi Iwakuma.
Oh, my bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough name. That's one of the toughest names to say, definitely.
So a little bit technical difficulties. Oh, but here's the stats. So Sirius, you want to do this one?
Yeah, I'm going to start about this one. Obviously, you have a number one Felix Hernandez, who's having a Felix Hernandez year. 2.39 ERA, 165 innings, just eating those innings up. Awesome walk to strikeout ratio, averaging about 9 strikeouts a game, which is awesome. Holding teams to 32 walks throughout the season. Just having a Felix Hernandez type year, which is always expected to him. Good to see through Felix. But Hisashi Iwakuma, I know we were both struggling with that name, is really been a nice addition to this Mariners bullpen. I mean, he's right up there with Felix's stats. 2.75 ERA, averaging 7 strikeouts a game. That's almost 8. Only 27 home runs. In just about the same amount of innings that Felix pitched this year. I think Hernandez and Iwakuma are going to set the tone for the rest of this Mariners rotation, especially with years to come. I mean, the Mariners don't have a set-in-stone 3-4-5 right now, but they definitely will be a great rotation if they can develop guys through these two.
Yeah, the stat for me that jumps out is Iwakuma's .97 ERA. That's an incredible whip. That means he's averaging less than a base runner per inning. That's exactly what you want to see out of a pitcher, and Iwakuma's proved that and done it all year long. This guy's legit as well.
I honestly think that the Mariners are one quality pitcher away from being a playoff contender in the West. Even maybe being better than the A's. They just need one more quality pitcher, and I don't know how young is Felix Hernandez. He's 27, so he has a couple.
He's got.
Felix Hernandez is 27 years old and has one of the best resumes out of any pitcher in the league right now.
I mean, he's a very good pitcher. He's still probably working in his prime. I think that the Mariners have a future, but of course, this time had become the Houston Astros. Well, Houston has one of the worst 1-2 strikes in the leagues with Lucas Harrell and Eric Bidard. These two or whatever. I don't think we need to spend much time on this. There's no talent here. There's nothing here.
Well, the definite ace for the Houston Astros is Bud Norris. Oh wait, they traded him just like they've done with everyone else on their team with Major League.
And they also decided to trade their closer too, and I don't even know what they got in return for Jose Veras. So you know what, the Houston Astros are just a joke.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
There's nothing to be said. I think the best pitching rotation and the best 1-2 punch in the AL West would be the Rangers, right?
I would agree completely, yeah.
Okay.
But we're the Mariners close second.
The Mariners close second, of course. Okay, so we'll move quickly down here. Let's talk about the Twins real quick. The Minnesota Twins have Kevin Correa and Correa. I thought I said
Correa.
Well, I'm butchering these names pretty badly.
No problem.
And Samuel Deduno. These two, or whatever, the Twins.
See, that's the problem. When you have Samuel Deduno as your second pitcher, I've never heard of him until tonight. I don't even know who the hell this guy is. Yeah, that's a problem. Twins are just a joke, too, pitching-wise. They used to have some really good pitchers, and now they just have completely lost that. Via trade, via free agents leaving, it's not good looking for the Twins right now.
The Twins are a couple of years out of a playoff spot. So we can move on to the White Sox, of course. Chicago White Sox. Two pitchers that made some statements, which is Chris Sale and Jose Quintana.
Yeah, Jake Peavy was definitely the top veteran on this White Sox team. Just dealt to the Boston Red Sox the trade deadline. So now that gives way to Chris Sale. Obviously the ace of the White Sox, and this is his team right now. 2.77 ERA, made an All-Star appearance again, second straight year, got the win at the All-Star game. This kid can absolutely dominate. He gets it up to 97, 98 miles per hour. Sidearm pitcher, 3/4 actually. And, I mean, he does have bad games. You see it just like every pitcher. But when this kid dominates, he dominates. And then you have Jose Quintanilla, a young pitcher on the White Sox, 3.51 ERA. He's definitely someone to look forward to in the White Sox rotation. I don't know if he's a top-tier kind of guy, but he's definitely going to develop and be in the White Sox rotation for a couple years to come.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so obviously the White Sox don't have the best pitch 1-2 in the Central, but the Detroit Tigers do. They've proven themselves with Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. If there's anything to be said about these two,
Yeah, well, first things first, gotta give a shout out to Max Scherzer being a Mizzou grad, being that I'm going there. Props to him. I love Max Scherzer. But just throwing out some quick stats here. Tigers have the best K per 9 ratio, 8.45 strikeouts per 9 innings. They're fourth best in the league in ground ball percentage at 47.7%. Their home run to fly ball ratio is 9.3% for third best in the league. Their whip is also the best in the league at 1.18. So of those four major categories that I really look at, they're in the top 5 in each of them, which I think makes them the most dominant staff in the entire league, with Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander obviously being who he is. Anibal Sanchez, I think, is a very bright young pitcher. Doug Fister's, I think, a very, very, very good fourth starter for this team. And Rick Porcello's been kind of inconsistent this year, but is a great 5. I would take him any day.
Yeah, I would like to say one thing about the Tigers rotation. As good as it is, this to me is the most frustrating pitching staff in the league. Look at Max Scherzer, absolutely dominating. Obviously, by far, best year of his career. 16 wins already, not even halfway through August. But Justin Verlander, going to the season, you could say, one of the best pitchers in the game, but definitely not having a Verlander-type year. 12 wins has been great, 8 losses, but that's not Justin Verlander. 3.74 ERA, not Justin Verlander. If you go back to 2010, the year that Justin Verlander won the Cy Young and the MVP in the same year, one of the only pitchers to do that, if he was having a kind of season like that this season, just imagine the things Detroit could be doing with the 1-2 punch of Verlander and Scherzer.
Yeah, all I'm telling you right now is I don't want to face this team in the playoffs. That's an absolute guarantee. These guys are nasty.
So moving on, the Kansas City Royals surprise for a lot of people at the baseball. The Royals every year are usually an easy out in the. I'll take over for the Royals on this one.
Mm-hmm.
The Royals are usually an easy out for teams in the during the regular season. Maybe just a team to face down the stretch when you need, when you're like maybe in August or even maybe like September. But the Royals aren't going away anytime soon right now because James Shields and Irvin Santana have been pitching well enough to get these guys to keep going. And you can argue that that there are other aces on the staff, but do you guys agree that Irvin Santana and James Shields are the 2 best pitchers on the staff?
I do, but I have a question for Brandon first. Obviously, James Shields is a good pitcher. He's established himself through the Rays and now the Royals. Was he anywhere worth the Will Myers trade?
That's a good question.
For people who don't know, the Royals traded top prospect Will Myers, who is now having a pretty decent season with the Tampa Bay Rays. They traded him straight up to the Rays for now their ace James Shields.
Present day right now, it looks pretty good for the Royals based that they're in the race, but in the long term, it was a terrible deal for the Royals, in my opinion. I think that they gave up way too much for a guy that I think Will Myers is going to be a beast in this league. He's going to be a great right fielder. I think at least he's playing right field right now, I think, for the Rays, but he could move around to left or whatever. But yeah, Will Myers is going to be a really good player. I don't think that this in the long term favors the Royals at all. I think they gave up too much, but obviously right now they're still in the playoff race. They're on fire right now. I think they won like 14 of 16 or something incredible. So I think this is a team that gets in the makes a run for that last wild card spot, and I think they're going to get in. I love their offense. with Salvador Perez, Alex Gordon, and all of them. And this pitching staff is definitely very good as well, with Guthrie, Santana, and Shields.
It's pretty good to think. But another team making the run that has not had very much success of late is the Cleveland Indians with their aces Justin Masterson and Ubaldo Jimenez. These two have been keeping Cleveland in the race. So what can we expect from them for the rest of the season?
I love Justin Masterson. He started his career in Boston, and now he's really developing himself in Cleveland. Definitely one of the best pitchers in the game. He's having obviously the best season of his career, even though he is still quite young. 3.46 ERA. Just like most of these aces, he is eating up innings. He does have a very low home run ratio, which you do like to see. And he is averaging 9 Ks per inning, so he is the complete starter. And I think if he can lower that ERA just a little bit, he could be one of the best pitchers in the game. And then you have Ubaldo Jimenez, who was an absolutely dominant pitcher that 1 year with the Colorado Rockies where he got traded to the Cleveland Indians. And we really haven't seen that dominant Ubaldo in Cleveland. Yes, he's been good. He's kept the teams in game. He has been quality, but not phenomenal. He could be better. His whip is a little high. His ERA, same thing, a little high. And his innings count a little low. So, that's what I think about the Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, Indians. So we'll look more for them in the future here. So we got our last 5 teams, and then we'll settle the debate. But the next team to talk about would be Toronto. Disappointment totally. They basically brought in all the former Marlins and tried to make them their pitching staff, but as of this moment, R.A. Dickey and Mark Burley are the only 2 aces on this team.
You have to question what went on with R.A. Dickey. I mean, there were points last season where I've never seen a pitcher more dominant. I believe at one point during last season, he threw 2 complete game, 1-hit shutouts in a row. And yes, as a Met fan, I do remember those games. One was in the Trop against the Rays, and the next one back-to-back was home against the Orioles. I mean, this was a great trade for the Toronto Blue Jays at the time. I mean, a pitcher so dominant, and the Blue Jays team looking to be dominant as a whole coming into the season. At the time, you couldn't argue with this trade. They did give up 2 big prospects to the Mets who are going to be good in the future, and Dickey really not having a good season. I mean, this is Dickey baseball right now, though. 4.49 ERA. I mean, this is what he's done his whole career as a starter, not the ace he's supposed to be his whole career that he was last year. And then you go to Mark Burley. This is his second team since leaving the White Sox. Since he's left the White Sox, I really feel like he's no longer an ace. He's no longer a top-of-the-rotation guy, especially one that the Blue Jays were looking for. He's up there in the same stats with Dickey, 4 ERA. Not a top-of-the-line ERA guy. I would really like to see a better improval from the rest of the Blue Jays rotation, but I do like Brett Cecil, and I would throw him up there as possibly the second starter, either over Burley or Dickey. You could argue either one. He has been the best Blue Jays pitcher so far this season.
That's pretty good. Then you move on to the Red Sox, who've been also pretty red hot of late. Their pitching has been helpful, besides their great hitting. John Lester leading the staff with 10 wins. For me, I got John Lester and John Lackey. I know Lester is probably the ace, but who's the second guy for you guys?
It's tough to say. I like Clay Buchholz a lot. I think for me, he's the number 2, even though, yes, he has been hurt a lot. But since he is hurt right now, I would say at this moment, it looks to me like John Lackey would be that guy. Jake, I'm not as high on the Jake Peavy trade as maybe many others are. I don't think that he's going to be the game changer that many do. And I just don't think that trade was very good for Boston, especially giving up Jose Iglesias. I love this guy. Yeah, they have Xander Bogaerts down in the minors who they really are high on. But Jose Iglesias has a glove that is just amazing. And I didn't really like that trade for Boston really at all. I don't think Peavy's the game changer they need. And that's why I don't think Boston actually does much in the playoffs. I think they're going to make it, but I think they're going to find themselves heading home pretty quick.
Okay, so another team that's pretty high in the division is the Tampa Bay Rays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this is a legit pitching staff. I mean, you look at guys like David Price, Jeremy Hellickson, Matt Moore, Roberto Hernandez even is up there, I guess. Formerly known as Fausto Carmona of the Indians. This is a very, very solid pitching staff with Chris Archer too. I forgot to mention him. This is a pitching staff that I think equivalates itself to the length of, or the level of a Detroit Tigers staff. This is a legit staff led by a legit, really, really young, bright star in this league in David Price out of Vanderbilt. I really like the Tampa Bay Rays a lot. I think they're going to make some serious noise in the playoffs. As a matter of fact, I have them heading to the World Series this year. So watch out, people. Tampa Bay is a legit. If you don't think so, then you're crazy because this team is really, really good.
The Rays, in fact, are visiting LA this weekend. We'll be playing the Dodgers for.
That's going to be a real test for LA. I don't think that they really faced a team as hot as the Rays are yet this year in the middle of a hot streak. So if the Dodgers get shown up, I wouldn't put too much into it because I don't think it would kind of explain my point that I don't think the Dodgers are as good as they are at this point right now. But I think the Rays are truly legit.
The Dodgers will be sending two of their best pitchers to the mound.
That's true, yeah.
Kershaw. It'll be Cap, Greinke, and Kershaw.
Yeah, so that'll be a tough test for the Rays as well.
So the last two teams in the division, New York Yankees, Roki Kuroda and CC Sabathia. Would you put them in playoff games?
Well, yeah, I'll let Jacob chime in on this since he's from that New York area in just a second. But for me, CC Sabathia has been a complete disappointment. I think he's just been awful. I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know if it's his weight, if he's out of shape, if it's just he's having a bad year. But he's really been bad. I mean, this is as bad as CC's been. This harks back to his early years in Cleveland when he couldn't throw strikes and was inconsistent. So I don't know what's up with him. So the Yankees better figure that out quick.
CC came into the season. He made a commitment in spring training. He was no longer going to be a straight fastball flamethrower. He realized he's getting up there in age a little bit, and he wanted to start developing a little more junk, a little more curveball. And he's really came to the season and tried to be a new pitcher, and that's really hasn't worked out for him, obviously, as you can see from the numbers and as Brandon just described. But I'm interested to see what CC's going to do now. Is he going to try and go back to his old form, or he's going to try and keep developing until he can get this right? We are going to see. The Yankees are not going to be a playoff team this season, most likely, but we will see throughout the off-season and spring training what CC Sabathia will decide to do. And then the Yankees rotation, the rest of that, I mean, you got Andy Pettitte, who knows how much longer he could play. This could be it. Maybe one more on the resume for Andy. And then you got Hiroki Kuroda, who could be a second starter. But again, he's not having a great year either. He's definitely been the Yankees' best pitcher so far, though, I do have to say. And then you have Phil Hughes, who, high Yankee prospect now in his third year, really hasn't been able to get the job done.
That's pretty good. The last team, before we go into one last debate, is the Baltimore Orioles. Chris Tillman, definitely the ace of the staff. And a surprise pick for the number 2 guy. A lot of people think it would be Jason Hamill or Miguel Gonzalez. I think it's Wei Yin Chen. He's 10-6. He's putting up a 2.95 ERA. I think he's good for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, for me, actually, though, I would put Scott Feldman as their number 2, thinking about it. Scott Feldman is a guy who was traded for at the deadline from the Chicago Cubs, who was having a magnificent season. I really like Scott Feldman. I think that he's a very legit number 2 starter in this league. He's a guy that I have a great respect for. Came into this season not really known as a big-time pitcher, but has really developed a nice fastball, great control. Feldman, for me, is that number 2 with Wei and Chen right behind there at number 3. And then, I like this pitching staff as well. They don't have that big-name pitcher, but they've got a lot of really solid pitchers on this staff.
That's pretty good. So, do you have anything to say about them?
I just think that the Orioles do have a lot of young pitchers. I know they've had a lot of guys who they've been trying to develop for the past couple of years. And they're a team that's really coming into their own, especially with last year and the way they performed this year. If they can get very solid pitching, they're definitely one of the top teams in the league.
So, with that said, just one last debate. Okay, so I've narrowed down to 6 teams, 6 1-2 combinations. Let's see who's best. So it's either going to be Kershaw, Greinke, Wainwright, Miller, Minor, and Julio
Tehran.
Tehran.
Julio Tehran, yeah.
Julio Tehran, Yu Darvish, Derek Holland, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, or David Price and Matt Moore. Who do you think is the best of those 6?
It's tough. It's really close. But for me, it comes down to either Detroit or Texas. And if I had to choose, if I was like, put at gunpoint, had to choose one team, I'm actually going to surprise people. I'm going with Yu Darvish and Derek Holland. For me, these two guys are just so good. I mean, I'm huge on Derek Holland. I think he's one of the bright young pitchers in this league. This is not a fluke for him. I think that he's had a really good season. He's got his highest ground ball percentage rate that he's ever had in his career, and it's up by a lot. And then obviously what Yu Darvish has done with that 10.86 11.86 K per 9 is just incredible. So I think, I would have Texas in a close second is Detroit.
Okay, how about you, Jacob?
I'm going to go away from both of those teams. I'm going to have a little surprising pick. I'm going to go the Los Angeles Dodgers. Obviously, you have Clayton Kershaw. No doubt about him. 1.91 ERA, best in the majors by far. He's absolutely dominated at points this season. And then you have Zach Greinke at number 2. I know Greinke hasn't been Zach Greinke, the Cy Young of old, but if Greinke could find the way he pitched in Kansas City, maybe even half of what he pitched in Kansas City, they could be a absolutely dominant 1-2.
Yeah, sure. We have our Angels expert, Nick Aguilar. What do you have to say?
I'm gonna disagree with both of you guys. I'm going with the Atlanta Braves. Hottest team in baseball. I love Julio Tehran. Great rookie. He's also in that. I think he's also in that running for Rookie of the Year along with Jose Fernandez and Yasiel Puig. Mike Minor doing pretty good this year. There's a reason why they're the hottest team in baseball. And there's two actually, hitting and pitching. They're doing great this season on both, and I think Atlanta does have the best 1-2 punch.
Yeah, for me, I disagree with Jacob's argument because of Zach Greinke. I don't trust Zach Greinke yet. I don't think that he's a guy that I would feel very comfortable with in a playoff setting due to his anxiety issues that he has. I don't think he's gotten past it yet. I think he folds in big-time situations. I think he's shown that in multiple times throughout his career with the Milwaukee Brewers in that playoff. I think when they made the playoffs that one year, he did not have a very good postseason. We all know what Kershaw provides. I don't know that if I can count on Zach Greinke to give me a good start in a playoff game that I need to win. So that's my only beef with that argument. But I mean, it's also I could be proven very much wrong this postseason, assuming the Dodgers make it. So we'll see. I'm going to keep very close eye on Zach Greinke on this postseason and see what he can provide.
Just to say the record, Zach Greinke, the reason his anxiety issues came after a very crappy season in Kansas City. It didn't have to do with pitching in big situations. It just had to come with him not pitching very well for Kansas City. He was decent with the Brewers. He never lost a game in Miller Park, for the record. So, with that being said, I think the Dodgers in the end will have the best pitching rotation. 1-2 punch. I mean, Kershaw, one of the best pitchers in the game. And even though Greinke hasn't been on his stuff, he's still been better than most pitchers in the NL right now.
So now that we took up almost 40 minutes with running through baseball's top prospects, we are now going to do our PTI debate with experts Daniel Levy and Nick Aguilera. Why don't you guys step it up, and we'll throw some topics at you.
Right, Seuss, you might want to go easy on Aguilera.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to go hot topics of today. I'm going to go hot topics of the past.
And you're going to go hot topics of hot topic.
Hot topics of hot topics, and you tell me what you think.
Seuss's favorite store.
Okay, we are going to start off in the NBA. Here is my first question for both of you. Paul Pierce today said that the Nets need to start running New York as their own team starting in this season. What do you guys think? Who is the better team, Knicks or Nets?
I'm going to go Nets. Zeus, I know you're a longtime Nets fan, but that's not the reason why. I think that the Nets, they're going to do good this year. I mean, Honestly, I think it was a bad move, turning around signing Jason Kidd as a coach right out of the NBA.
I agree with that, definitely.
But I think Paul Pierce has a point. They do have to run New York if the Knicks start falling, like pretty much they do every season. So I think the Nets, they have to start running New York would be the Kings of Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I definitely agree with the fact that the better team in New York is by far the Brooklyn Nets. However, what Pierce said, I slightly do disagree with. With Brooklyn entering just its second year in New York, I don't think you can call it the face of New York basketball yet. The Knicks are an established New York basketball team, and that's the way it's gonna stay for at least another year before the Knicks really, because every once in a while I'll still slip up and call them the New Jersey Nets. It happens to a lot of people.
I agree.
And you can't really say that in a second year, their second year in a new city, you can't call them that established team in that city.
Okay, so I'm going to throw one more basketball question at you for now. The son of Dr. Jerry Buss said in his interview today that if his father was still alive, he would have been able to pursue Dwight Howard to come back to the Lakers. Do you think that the death of Dr. Jerry Buss influenced Dwight Howard's decision to go to Houston? Or if he was still alive, would he have been able to persuade Dwight to come back?
I don't think anything could have persuaded Dwight to come back. I think that the Lakers made the biggest mistake they've made in a while going out and getting Dwight, because he's not going to stay. I bet he's not going to stay in Houston after his contract is up, even if he can even last the length of his contract before he goes out requesting a trade to go to another team. Dwight Howard is one of the most disloyal players in the NBA by far, and I don't think there's any way you could have gotten him to stay in LA, except for maybe if they had won a championship this year, which we all know wasn't going to happen.
Nick, what do you think?
I think that the only thing that could have brought Dwight back to LA was better relationships with the players and with Coach Mike D'Antoni. But Jerry Buss, I think his death, that kind of, it didn't really have a big effect, but it probably had a slight effect of Dwight Howard taking so long. I think he felt sorry for the Lakers after losing Jerry Buss, but I think that there was no way Dwight was coming back unless they had better relationships on the court and off the court.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I got a good one for you guys right now. You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Should girls who are good enough athletes be allowed to play professional men's sports?
Oh my gosh.
What do you think about that?
Aguilera, let's hear you first.
You didn't see that one coming, did you? I wish you guys could see the look on their faces right now. They don't know what to say. They do not know what to say.
I like the question. I like the question. I think it is a good question. I think it needs to be addressed. I'm gonna let Aguilera field it first, though.
Yeah, I think maybe if they're good enough, not like bottom of the line, but if they're good enough, like Brittany Griner. Honestly, if she was in the NBA, she would probably be a decent player.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that they should, but there should be less contact. There should be more. And that's the only problem I have with girls and men's sports.
Okay, here's another question I'm gonna throw out at you.
Well, can I field that one first?
Hold on. It'll be your turn.
Okay, they go together.
You are Troy Polamalu, a girl running back. Comes into the league.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing running back. NFL allows her in. If you're Troy Polamalu, do you have a problem hitting her as hard as you can?
Yeah, he has a problem hitting her, but it's part of the game. She wanted to play football. She knows it's a collision sport. But if she wanted to play, Troy Polamalu has to step up and tackle her. But
okay,
I just think that they're more gentle, so don't tackle them as hard as you tackle regular running backs. Maybe a little softer, but still, it was her choice. She wanted to go in football, and yeah.
Okay, first of all, Seuss, to address your first question, I suppose if the player is good enough, they should be allowed to play in professional sports. I was going to say before you brought up the second question, my one concern would be in contact sports like football, hockey, and a lot of other contact sports. And my problem isn't with the women playing; it's with how the men in the league will treat the players. Because and this is going to address the Troy Polamalu point. I guarantee you, even myself, and I like to think of myself as a feminist, but even myself, if I were in a football game, if I were Troy Polamalu, I would not want to be tackling a female running back simply because I would be uncomfortable with it. I would be uncomfortable having a female in the locker room, by the way, as well. I think she would be uncomfortable. They need to give them their own locker rooms. And it simply won't happen in sports. I think that's something that it just, as much as people would want it to happen, I just don't think it would happen because there are a lot of people out there that want to prevent it, and there are a lot of people against it. And there are a lot of people that would feel uncomfortable with them playing in any sort of collision contact sport.
Okay, so we do have Robert Dieters. Guest, he's here. He would like to say something.
Hey guys, heard you talking about Troy Polamalu,
hitting girls.
Hitting girls, nice, and hitting on the ladies, I see. So
yes,
he's in those Head and Shoulders commercials. I don't agree with that. That's a lot.
What do you have against the Head and Shoulders commercials? Just out of curiosity.
He's not good on those. I mean,
that man has
no one's good on Head.
Not even C.J. Wilson and what was it?
Josh Hamilton.
Yeah, Josh.
I remember Joe Mauer's days on Head and Shoulders.
Joe Mauer's
Joe Mauer started it off.
Good though.
But let me tell you something. Troy Polamalu's hair may be the most iconic thing. Well, no, but it's pretty awesome.
Hair. The most iconic sports hair.
Sort of like James Harden's
He considers it man.
Yeah.
Let's get back to PIT. Robert, would you like to join in on this PTI debate? Sorry.
PIT?
On the pit, on this,
I'm pretty sure it's not a pit, but yeah, I would like to go on PIT.
Okay, here's my next question for you. Joe Paterno, the whole situation with that happened. Wins taken away from Penn State. Now that this A-Rod thing happened, should home runs be taken away from him?
I like that question a lot, Jacob. Again, I think it's a lot like the wins. I think taking home runs away is kind of like, it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But I think taking away a lot of A-Rod's career accomplishments, I think that's totally fine. I think, any shred of respect any legitimate baseball fan has ever had for A-Rod has to be gone now. He needs to get out of baseball. He needs to disappear. He needs to pull a George Bush and just step out of the spotlight and never go back in because he is absolutely absurd. And I think you need to completely take away every accomplishment he's ever had.
Nick, what do you think?
A-Rod simply...
I would like to see him taken away, but they already happened. It's not going to happen. His record will be tarnished forever, though. The record books will be tarnished. Honestly, I don't like Alex Rodriguez as a player or as a person. Just lying about the whole situation, even though he's not denying or saying that he actually did take PEDs, which he probably did, most likely. I think
most likely he did it.
Yeah, he did.
He did it. Okay.
Rob, I want to hear what Rob has to say.
Okay, so what you just said was A-Rod's home runs already happened. So it's like saying Joe's Paterno's wins already happened.
Yeah.
Well, they did.
But I
was completely against the taking away the wins. I think Joe Paterno is.
But I'm comparing this to Joe Paterno. It's almost the same thing.
It's hard to compare.
It's the same situation, though. You gotta understand. Okay, taking away Hall of Fame should be that way. You took away a statue, now you're taking away A-Rod's Hall of Fame.
I don't
Why
think...
doesn't he just retire now? I don't get why
I completely agree with that statement. But taking away home runs, it's like the wins. It seems a little bit redundant. But here's the thing. Joe Paterno wasn't cheating. Alex Rodriguez was.
That's the difference.
Okay. So wait, if we took away all his how much runs did he have? Like
600 something. He's
600
up there. He's
something.
up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's up there. So he would never have any home runs in MLB history. Is what we're pretty much saying at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, but I mean, okay, you can agree with that.
Well,
I think he shouldn't be passing up other players like, Hall of Famers on the list. Now Barry Bonds is okay. Let's go to this Barry Bonds situation.
Can I just say before we move on to Barry Bonds, the least they can do is put a little asterisk next to every single juicing player, because there needs to be some recognition of it. You can't just go on living in a fantasy land where people like Barry Bonds, like Alex Rodriguez, like Ryan Braun, didn't take steroids because it happened and it needs to be acknowledged. While they still have incredible hand-eye coordination and all that, I'll respect that talent, but still you have to at least get an asterisk, at least.
If I can chime in real quickly, I've been to the baseball.
Jason from his bed would like to add a comment.
I think this is an honest answer. You're gonna say what is wrong with Jason, but then
Well, we say that normally. Keep going.
Yeah. I think honestly, at the Baseball Hall of Fame, if the steroid players want to get this. I think there should be a steroid exhibit. I think there should be an exhibit just on baseball and steroids. I think they should acknowledge it, but they can let the players in, but they'll be in that section.
So
Barry
only
Bonds,
cheaters would go and check it out.
Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Rafael Palmeiro, Sammy Sosa, and Mark Guerrero. They would be put in the hall, except they would be in a specific section. It
would be called the steroid era.
I'd love to see that happen just to see if the MLB has the balls to do it.
Literally be like this.
Hold on.
It'll be literally you walk into a room, there's a darkened area, and the words on the wall just say steroids.
So the steroids Hall of
Stop
Fame.
the madness. Stop the madness.
Hey,
Stop the
baseball.
madness.
It's pretty
Who's gonna give it to or that? Who's gonna give it to?
Brandon Byer would like
Stop
to
the
add
madness.
something.
Every one of you is going to give me this answer. Jason Gerlin, I'll start with you. Who is the greatest player you ever saw in person? Greatest player. Greatest player.
Let's see, I only time I saw Barry Bonds person.
Okay, well, okay.
With
Not even in person. Just who is the greatest person you ever watched? We'll put it that way, in baseball, from your experience.
From this era,
that you've watched personally.
From the steroid.
Doesn't matter if it's TV, live, or anything.
Matt Kemp is pretty good.
So you're gonna put Matt Kemp over Barry Bonds? You think that Barry Bonds is not the best player you've ever seen?
Barry
Bonds.
In person?
No. Just not in person. It could be in person.
Well, I
or it
started
could be
watching
on...
Barry Bonds in his declining years. That's the thing. I think of baseball. But here's the thing. We have to acknowledge. I mean, baseball needs to acknowledge that there's a steroid era.
And I would love.
The Hall of Fame is a learning
I don't
experience.
disagree, but I'm saying
Right, I'd
Barry
love for them-
Bonds is the best player of this generation.
Okay.
Hold
Robert
on.
Peters has
Steroids
one
are
last
not.
comment before he has to leave our show.
Okay, Byron, you probably know the answer to this question. You and me are Giants fans enough. I love watching Barry Bonds. He brought fans to AT&T Park all his life.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go with this. I don't care what he did. He just brought fans to come.
Be careful there. Be careful there.
Let
You
me
don't
finish,
care what
let
he
me
did.
finish.
Yeah.
Let me finish. Let me finish before you.
Let him talk. Let the man talk.
Let me talk, please. Okay. Me and Byron have this in common. When we were little, we were Giants fans. It was JT Snow, Barry Bonds, Marquise Grissom, Jason Schmidt.
Reggie Sanders.
And yet you lost to the Angels in 2000.
I can name all
Okay,
of
let's.
them.
Let's see what he has to say.
Santiago. You can name all these guys right now. Ray Durham. I liked all these guys. Ray Durham was should have been, defensive players of the year and stuff like that. Barry Bonds, though, was excitement. I mean, you think he was going to hit a home run every at bat. Maybe he's not fast, but now let's go to the steroid thing. Now, I look at other players, and today what we talked about in sports broadcasting camp saying, players that look like they are juiced, but you have to be careful about that. Look at Miguel Cabrera when he was on the Florida Marlins. Look how skinny he was.
Yeah.
And now look now. Well, okay. So look in the later years he was with Florida, and then he goes to Detroit. With Detroit, and the end of his years with Florida, he looks so juiced, anyone could tell. And now he's Triple Crown Award winner. He's going to be a second time. Jeez. And by the way, I got to go, but that's all I got to say. Thank you guys, and I know we're going to be...
Thank you, Robert.
NS Sports State 5 is downstairs, as well as...
Thank you
Jordan
for-
and Cameron as well. So
Okay,
Thank
so
you very
next
much,
we
guys.
got
Wait, can
Thanks
I?
for joining us,
I need to
Rob.
rebuttal
No, we
this.
can't. That topic is over. Sorry.
I just want to say...
Nope, topic is over.
Topic's
Sorry.
over. The topic's over.
Okay,
Come
so
on.
now Carl Mogline is going to join us in Robert Dieter's spot.
my full nickname.
Carl's. I'm glad you've embraced it. If you remember from last night's show, Carl's 7th grade Mogline, everybody. Okay, so this question is.
listening to this?
No. This question is a United States soccer question.
Oh,
Are you
Yes,
kidding
yes,
me?
I can do this.
Are you
Will-
kidding me?
The U.S. soccer team
Oh, God.
win a World Cup in the next 30 years?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
30 years, I give it. The thing is, soccer is a growing sport in the U.S. with the MLS continuing to grow. I see, especially because 30 years, in the next 10 years, it's going to grow enough that young kids are going to want, more young kids are going to want to play soccer all the way through high school, and you're going to get some of the elite athletes actually wanting to play soccer. Think of actually the elite athletes in our sports played soccer. LeBron James playing soccer. LeBron James being a goalie. You see Steve Nash assist.
Steve Nash is a great soccer player.
But
He
him
is.
assisting the best in soccer, him giving passes to Landon Donovan, it'd be unstoppable.
Okay, you know what? That
What do we
just
know?
makes
Enlighten
me,
me. Here's-
that just makes
Okay.
me sick to hear because you know what? I'm tired of all these soccer fans saying that U.S. soccer is coming up
Oh,
and
God, I know.
it's getting better.
Uh-huh.
Oh please, this is ridiculous. Landon Donovan, yeah, he's a fantastic player, but the U.S. does not care about men's soccer.
Right.
It's true.
Wait,
Who gives a damn?
Can I ask
about
why he said
US
men's,
soccer?
not soccer in general? Does the U.S. care more about women's soccer than men's soccer?
In the
Oh,
US soccer,
God.
You know
the
what?
We're
women's
splitting
team is
hairs.
a hell of a lot better.
That's
That is
true.
a legitimate question, honestly, because I actually watched the women's final against Japan
Yeah.
a hell of a lot longer than I watched the men get their ass kicked
I
by
agree,
Puerto
I
Rico.
agree
It's
with
true.
that.
Can I-
That was over Alice.
Okay, I'm
Murray.
gonna
That was
go
Elliot,
next
Elliot
No.
Taylor would like to say something.
I mean, 30 years down the road is a pretty hard thing to predict, especially because
Yeah.
most of the players on the USA team right now are under the age of 30. So most of these players probably have not even been born yet that will be on the squad in 30 years. So I'm just thinking that in the future, we are slowly improving. It's not like we're becoming worse and worse and
Yes.
worse. So I mean, it's not inconceivable that it could happen. I'm sure within the next couple years, like next few World Cups, we'll get progressively deeper and deeper into the World Cup. But to say that we will win one, probably not within the next 30 years. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them in a semifinal or maybe even a final.
Weavy, what do you think?
Can I just say the training, the intense training of these kids in Europe is ridiculous. I mean, they're being scouted out of elementary school. It's unbelievable the intensity of soccer
Okay, good.
in Europe.
Nick Aguilera, what do you think?
There's a lot of talent on the team right now, but 30 years is it's a little long stretch. I think we'll see one in our lifetime. I don't know about 30 years, but U.S. Soccer is definitely growing, especially. What I find amazing is that the U.S. is ranked above in the world rankings above Mexico, the Olympic gold medal winner. Even though
Come on, stop
There's something
it.
to say about the
Actually,
Olympics. The
It's
Olympics
so
are
ridiculous.
Soccer-
You know what? The one thing I don't like about soccer, I'm going to tell you right now about U.S. soccer, is that fans are clamoring that, we won the Gold Cup, or we won the CONCACAF,
Gold
or
Cup
whatever
means
the
nothing.
crap it-
Also,
it means nothing.
Okay.
So when we go in the World Cup, we face the best of the rosters. No national team is going to put their best roster in the Gold Cup against our best roster. when
well,
we're
the Gold
playing
Cup
our-
is only for North America, so I'm just gonna put
Okay,
that.
whatever cup it is.
And
Whatever
plus,
whatever
we played
the World
Panama
Cup
in the
qualifiers-
finals.
World Cup qualifiers.
We played Panama in the finals.
Hey.
I just have to say that we do have a half hour left on the show, and I'm going to keep running these questions because this is very entertaining.
The farthest the Americans have made it.
Was the semifinals 1930?
Yep.
Yeah, you got
Okay.
that right.
They have
Okay,
not
next
even
topic,
close
next
to
topic.
things. Not even close.
Okay, next topic. I'm moving on to the next topic.
Calm down,
Okay, here we go. Next topic. Everyone around the room is going to answer this because you've all got involved now. You're all on PTI.
Oh, ball
Greatest team of all time.
Any sport?
Any
Oh,
sport.
boy.
This is
Oh,
on
man.
any year. Greatest team
Do I need to
of
whack
all
you again?
time.
Can it be national?
Any team
Oh,
of
that's a good
all
point.
time.
That's a good
Does it have to be
point.
professional?
Any on a professional level, yeah.
Well, I mean, the
baseball, soccer, hockey, football.
What about the Olympic teams?
Yeah.
Olympic teams can count.
Ooh, that's not professional.
Dream team.
Mm-hmm.
Any,
Yeah.
I'll
Damn
By
it, that
far.
was mine.
No, you.
Okay,
It's
I'm
the
going to
dream
start with
team.
Elliot.
Thank you. The Dream Team,
Yep.
1992. I don't believe they even got. I think their average margin of victory was over 30 points, at least 30 points over each team. I think it even got to the point where Christian Leitner even got playing time, and he was the only player from college Like that wasn't on an actual professional team that made the dream team.
Well, here's my question to you: Would last year's dream team beat that dream team?
Huh? Are you kidding
No.
me? What
Are
a
you
joke.
kidding me?
That's insane.
It really
I
is.
think that
insane.
the 2012 team was talented, but I don't think it was as deep.
No,
Don't-
that team. The 2012 team doesn't even sniff
open
the
this
dream
debate.
team.
Now don't
You open this debate.
Now, don't
I'm
tell me
saying
no one
they-
in
I'm
this
saying
room
they
would
were
like to
talented.
watch
I
that
didn't say
game.
they would beat
That would
them.
be a good
I'm
game.
not saying you are.
It would be a
I'm
good
just
game
saying
to
that
watch.
That's just my opinion. I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
fun, yeah,
as long
But
as
the
that
dream team would
2012
wipe the
team-
floor with the
Our
2012
children will
dream
be
team.
talking about this, and they'll probably say 2012 dream
That's a
team.
good point.
I
That's true.
guarantee you,
It's
every
true.
man in this room has a son in 20 years, and their children will say the 2012 Dream Team could beat the 1992 Dream
That
Team.
is
Hey,
a good point.
what?
Unless there are
I
good
guarantee
parents
you
in
that.
this
What if I only have
generation.
daughters? What do I do then?
Tell them to-
Carl,
Tell them to
Carl,
grow some
just
balls.
come on, get out of
Okay,
here.
does anyone else have any different teams?
Well, no, I want
But does anyone else have a
The
different team?
1995 Bulls. The
And why?
Was that
And
the one
why?
that's 72 and 10?
And
Yeah,
why?
That's 72 and
They were 72 and 10, but they did lose to Charlotte at one point, I think, in one of their games.
You can't tell me
No,
that
the
team could
Clippers beat
compete
them.
again.
I don't know about that.
They
You
Oh well, they lost 10 games. Boo hoo, man. That's still
right, but you can't tell me that the dream team that also had Michael Jordan on.
Okay,
You
but
can't tell me that they would be able to even compete against.
Okay,
the
no, I'm not
Bulls.
saying they're competing. I'm not. There's two different topics.
Exactly, and that's why the dream team's better.
The
It's,
dream team is better, but I'm just bringing up another topic so we don't have a freaking. So we have some diversity in this topic, you know.
okay, but there can't be diversity in this topic when there's one clear
Okay,
standout.
okay,
team.
My
let's-
mother has
let's-
one kind of thing.
Let's go with professional teams.
1995.
Red Wings of
1995 Bulls.
1995, 96,
Okay.
62, 13, and 7.
Okay, here's the next topic. I don't like this topic.
No, it's your fault. You created it.
Yeah,
It's
but-
95 Bulls.
Okay. Should the American League get rid of the designated hitter?
That's balls.
No, the NL should add it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
You are insane. First of all, I hate the designated hitter. I think it's the most dumb thing ever. Excuse me, pitchers.
National League
Did you
fans.
just rip one?
Yeah, but you do too, so you know.
Okay,
Carl, we're on the
first
air.
First of all, I think pitchers who don't hit are a joke. You gotta pitchers.
Well,
should
then
be-
only the Cubs pitchers are real pitchers.
Pitchers should have to also exhibit some hitting ability.
They're athletes too.
This is
Zach
why.
Greinke.
Yes.
This is why Barry Zito is one of the worst. Has one of the worst swings I've ever seen in my life. Dude literally looks like he's gonna fall down and break his neck every time he swings a bat. Like he's gonna fall flat on his face and bust open his head. This dude literally can't swing a bat.
Zach Greinke can.
Yep,
Yeah, Zach
exactly.
Greinke can hit. That's
Steven
right.
Strasburg is actually
Travis
not a
Wood.
hitter.
CC Sabathia is parked
It's
a
a
couple
joke.
on couple.
Pitchers should have to hit. They should have to also
I
take.
completely agree.
They should also have to experience what it's like to go up against the other pitcher that they are facing. That's my personal.
I completely agree. I think here's my problem with what Byer's saying, and I completely agree with him. But here's my problem with it: is you will lose some fans because people like to see more excitement, more quality hitters. But that's why they need to groom pitchers into half decent hitters.
Okay, but what do you do with the David Ortizes of the world? That cannot play any position but can rip one out of the ball.
Play
Learn to play
Yeah,
a
you play
position.
first base.
How
Man,
hard
he
is
did.
it to play first base? You
Yeah.
literally just stand there and you can catch the ball. If you practice it for long enough,
Yep.
David Ortiz could be a league average.
Wait,
Not
does anybody
even
actually
a
know
little
what
bit
position
below
David
league
Ortiz
average.
played?
First base.
First base. First, okay.
It
He
was
played
first base.
for the
It was
Twins
first
for a long time,
Yeah.
but then he decided, I'm going to go to Boston, be DH. He got lazy. To me, the DH signifies laziness. That you
Yeah.
don't want
Although,
to go
okay,
work
can I say
and
something?
work on your
It
ability.
continues.
With the Twins, Jim Thome was getting older in his career, and it made sense for him to DH because if he had been on the field, we had
He's a
better
Cleveland
players.
Indian at heart, you know that. Jim
No, I'm saying
Thome.
when he was a Twin, though. In the
Oh,
latter
ball
end of
snap.
his career.
Here's the
Who
problem.
the
I
Dodgers
think.
shoe?
I-
Boo-hoo.
Okay,
Wait,
next topic.
Are we
Oh,
gonna
man.
actually talk on this topic?
Yeah.
No,
So-
too late.
So is Jamie Carroll.
No.
Okay,
on the
Nick
next
will start the
episode.
next one.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Whatever the hell his
Jadeveon
first name is,
Maybe Clowney.
Clowney. It has been said now that with the new hitting rules in college football, his hit from last season would be illegal. That's taking away, in my opinion, from the aspect of the game and what you're supposed to do. What do you think about these rules,
Okay.
Nick?
How many times best of the best championship was he?
A lot.
A lot.
He's
He's
not
not
still going anymore.
anymore.
No, but Mark Sanchez is.
Can we not talk about the butt
Let's just not talk
fumble?
about
I'm just saying it's so
That
bad.
was a great.
Carl, you bring up the
That was
most
probably one of the
irrelevant
greatest
stuff in these
hits
arguments.
in college football history.
It's really.
I love those kind of hits. They look painful, and those players have to be tough to take them and just stand right back up after taking a hit like that from Jadeveon Clowney. But you got to do what you got to do, reduce injuries. But honestly, I think they shouldn't make those kind of hits illegal. His head was down. He never really hit his head full on speed. But you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Nick. I think that hit was perfectly legal. The one thing I don't understand about that play is how Michigan left him unblocked. I mean, how do you not block Jadeveon Clowney?
He went untouched.
How stupid are you to just leave the best defensive end in the entire country and just let him run rampaging right into your running back who had literally no time to see what was coming out? I'm sorry, but whoever was the left tackle or the left guard on that play needs to seriously go back to the film room and rewatch that every time, because they better not do that again, or else their running back is going to get hurt again. That was embarrassing.
All right. I think it's actually okay. Being the one that's very cognizant and very cautious about concussions, I feel like this is actually really important. I mean, most of these kids, let's be honest, less than I think 5% of those people of all college players will make it to the NFL. So I mean, it's kind of important that they kind of keep their brain somehow, right? So I mean, you don't want their brains absolutely just turn into like mush and completely become ineffective learners and contributing to society. So I think it's a pretty safe idea, or not safe idea, but like I admire their approach towards the situation.
So would you rule that an illegal hit?
Well, that hit wasn't that unclean.
Well, there's nothing you can do about it now.
Well, no. Just in retrospect, if you were the referee, would you have called that? Would you have penalized Clowney?
No.
I don't think it was actually.
That hit was clean.
Yeah, now that I think about it,
was
I
a
think
clean hit.
he seemed to come up.
Into his chest.
Into his chest, and it
hit him right in his sternum.
I don't
It was
think
a good hit. It was a really nice hit.
I thought it was clean, but I mean, I'm just like really concerned about I'm not.
Nick Aguilera has to go. Thanks for being on the show tonight, Nick.
Thank you. I'm going to be on the other show tonight on National Sports. I have to close it out with Robert Dietrich.
Okay, no one go listen to him. Stay with us, please. Sorry.
Real
Nick.
quick, I'd like to chime in before we change topics. I agree a lot with Elliot. I think that even more so than in the pros, I think college athletes need to be protected because, as Elliot just said, not a lot of them are going to make it as big as they think they are, and going to college, that one and done is a topic for another day, but I definitely think that they need an education. They need to keep their brains, and you don't want them to be 50 and be forgetting stuff and be just at loss of any sort of trace of a brain.
Yes, that would not be good.
That's sadly happening. That's why I'm not going to let my kids play football.
Well, okay, I'll debate that with you all day. I'll debate.
Well, that's not a topic. I'm sorry.
No, I think we should make that a topic.
Yeah.
Should we let children play football, tackle football?
Okay, go for it.
Okay.
Let's let Carl open.
I just would like to say, I think the key to this is actually teaching good, clean hitting at a young age.
That's
And
a
the
good
NFL
point.
is starting to do that, but they
point.
really needed to reinstitute it. I think one of the greatest organizations in youth sports is USA Hockey, because they actually run almost everything. They run a lot of house leagues, they run the tournaments, and they have very strict rules. Recently banning hitting in the 12 and under leagues. They're being very protective of their players, and I think it's a great step.
Well, but you can't ban hitting in football.
You can't ban hitting.
I mean, unless you're playing flag football, but that's a totally different
But
thing.
you can still, you don't have to ban hitting, you can just teach clean hitting at a young age.
No, I completely agree with that. Here's my thing is, if your kid wants to play football, why not let him? Here's the thing: if kids don't start playing football at an early age, not an early age, but at a decent age, then the NFL will cease to exist. College football will cease to exist because no parents will let their kids play football. And by the time they're trying to walk on in college, it's going to be too late for them.
Oh, that'd be sad.
I personally would let my kids play football, but I would make sure that they're safe, and I would teach clean hitting, and I would make sure that there's no foul play going on, because it's unacceptable to see a child hurt in a football game.
There's no question. There's no might. I am very concerned about the safety. Like, I have friends that play tackle football in high school, and maybe I'm just an over concerned friend, but I honestly am very worried that they're gonna catch a ball like just running right down like the seam or something, or not down the seam, like just into the secondary, and while they're like trying to turn their head, boom, get hit right in the head, helmet to helmet, and just have like just a gnarly concussion. And coming from a person that I have personally had a concussion, they suck. Like they're so painful and awful, and all you want to do is pretty much just sleep, and you feel your stomach hurts, and you just feel like the room is spinning for about a week, and it's just awful. And I don't think anyone should ever have to experience that. And it was actually interesting. There are actually pro players right now that will not let their kids play football. I think Kurt Warner's the most notable one, and I think Bernard Scott, I want to say, I think he was the lineman for the Jets, but neither of them are going to let their children play football, and I just really feel like it's a step in the right direction. And there was actually an article a couple months ago on ESPN that they had written, and there are actually some parents that had actually just completely cut off their involvement with the NFL. Like, they won't watch pro football games, college football games, high school, anything, because they want to make sure that they kind of keep their kids away from it. And it was funny, I was talking to my dad about it when I was a little kid, and I was like, Dad, I think I want to play football. And immediately he just nipped it in the bud. He's like, no, you're not going to play football. And at first I was like, why? He's like, well, you can get really hurt in your head. And this was kind of before concussions were as big of a deal as they were now. And I was just kind of like, okay, I understand that. And I mean, I'm pretty thankful that he did. I'm not going to try and brag, but I think I got a pretty good a pretty good brain on my head. And,
you did win an academic decathlon.
I did win an academic decathlon.
As much as, I just wanted to chime in real quick. As much as I respect what you're saying, Ellie, I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
For me, I would allow my kid to at least try football. Again, it's just about experiencing it. If he didn't want to play after he tried it and experienced it and said, hey, this game's not for me, then that's fine. But I wouldn't want to deny my child an opportunity that maybe he found would be something that he really liked or really wanted to do, and just nullified it right off the bat without allowing him an opportunity to see how it was and if he enjoyed it or not. Because that's the worst thing you can do. For me, as a person, I don't want to deprive my children of something that maybe they might end up really liking or really want to do, and maybe even want to pursue it in a much bigger way, maybe throughout their life. I don't know. Just that's my personal take.
I completely agree with you, Brandon. Here's the thing. All of us in this room, we're all huge sports fans. You can't tell me you didn't grow up, pretending to throw the winning touchdown at the Super Bowl. Come on,
Carl.
Come on, every single sports fan, every single football fan has dreamed of being a professional football player.
There's some hockey stuff, but hockey.
Hockey's
a physical sport itself. Would you allow your kid to play?
Yes,
hockey?
I will allow my. But it's because of the way the USA Hockey's handling it, and Canada Hockey is doing it too. They're actually teaching good, clean hitting. They're eliminating plays that are more likely to create injuries, and I think hockey is actually much safer than football.
I would agree with that. But you just said to start off this topic, you said that now the NFL is making an outreaching to these other programs to teach the right things.
And I think that's a great thing right now.
Yeah,
I think once that gets more advanced, I think in a few years, I think by the time I think I'm having kids, there's a very good chance I think that they'll be at a point that I would let my kids play.
Let me just finish my point. If my kid came up to me and said, Daddy, I want to be a pro football player for the Chicago Bears, I want to, bring them 10 consecutive Super Bowls, I'd say I'd say go for it. He's not, he's not, 99.999 odds say he's not going to, go past high school.
Actually, with your son, I think he could do it.
But, my son will be badass. But, you can't, I feel like just shooting them down right then and there, and Elliot, this is no discredit to your parents, but I feel like I just couldn't do that to my son, because if there's something he dreams, every kid is taught if you dream it, you can do it, and I think that if you take that away from them,
if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Sure.
All right, I think we're ready to move on.
Okay. Anybody got a rebuttal?
I'm not gonna. I know I'm not gonna sway you guys at all, but I just really think that I think Carl. I'm not sure if anyone other.
Should
than
we
Carl
beat the
and
crap out of Levy and show him what a headache's like? Concussions like?
No, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Those things are so painful.
Yeah, I
And-
had one. They really am not.
And I can't speak about the hockey, but I think the way the NFL is even treating former players
Oh, that's
is
totally different.
It's absolutely criminal. But we're talking about our children. So
I'm not
future
saying that nothing
generations.
needs to be done about collision, about contact, but I think I couldn't tell my son, no, you can't play football ever.
Maybe you're gonna be a good dad.
Thank you very much, Carl. I think you'll be a good dad too.
Really, I'm really shocked by that.
Seuss, you want to move on?
That's gonna be all actually for tonight's show.
Oh man.
Ah, shucks.
For Jason Gerline, Brandon Byer, Elliot Taylor, Carl Mogline, Daniel Levy, I'm Jacob Seuss saying good night, and it's been a pleasure.